Hello, and welcome to the Music Survival Guide, the independent musician's guide on how to survive in the music industry. My name's Phil, a mixing engineer. I hope you're doing wonderfully well out there in podcast land. I don't know about you, but October almost feels like it's that kind of turn where the beginning of term, I always still think of things in terms of like school terms. The beginning of term has started, has really got started in earnest, and you're rapidly heading towards the end of the year. And before you know it, it's Christmas. But here we are. The weather is wonderful, and I have a new podcast for you, so all is well. So this week, I am chatting with Alex and Dan, who are in a band called Ronin. We discuss things like bringing the hype to each gig and making the atmosphere themselves, starting their own festival to kind of build a scene around them, and, of course, spending a mad day filming 4 music videos in 16 hours. What sounds better? I'm going to stop talking now and just say on we go with the podcast. So, today on the podcast, I am joined by Alex and Dan of Ronin. How are you both?
Hello, Phil.
Hey, how you doing?
Howdy.
Nice seeing you.
And you? Yeah. Enjoying the cooler weather at the moment, at least I am. I don't do heat.
Oh, I love heat.
Really? Oh.
I love the beginning of the autumn. It might get boring after a while, but the beginning of it is just... I love it so much.
Rain. Lots of rain.
So I like a good dry heat. I think the humidity gets to me, but having a dry heat, almost like desert conditions, really does something for me, especially like out on the bike, kind of, just a t-shirt or kind of throwing a shirt on. It's like, it's a nice feeling,
I do agree. I mean, being a kind of a beach person myself, I mean, maybe not a bike person, but definitely a beach person. I agree with the heat, yes, but still enjoyable.
So my first question, as always, is from an online random question generator. And my question for you both this week is, what is the worst movie you have ever seen?
Wow.
I'm not sure I could answer that question.
I love my bad movies.
Okay.
It would be hard to tell. There are some movies that are so ugly and like visually ugly and like confusing at a plot level that they almost become beautiful in its own, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, so I've got quite a penchant for kind of bad old B movies.
Yes.
I absolutely love
a bad old B movie.
And what's really great now I've found is if you go on YouTube, you can start looking a lot of these movies up. And they're all out there, kind of like public access, and they're so bad that they're good, and it's the same kind of 60s and 70s, like old biker flicks, or kind of, there's some really random ones out there, like lesbian vampires from Mars, like these really budget movies that
it doesn't sound ugly.
Yeah, well, the effects are terrible, the screenwriting's terrible, but there's just something really beautiful about them. It's like they belong in a Misfits music video.
Oh yeah, that old B movie aesthetic.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say it's the worst movies I've ever seen, but sometimes the worst stuff can be the best. I'd argue.
That's fair. I mean, my mind is immediately drawn to two movies, one of which is Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. If you've never seen that, that's a film that's worth seeing around Christmas time. And it's exactly the film you think it is. I think they made it in the 60s, and it's very interesting. Someone bought me on DVD, and I watched it, and it's awful. And the second film is, to be honest, actually quite good, and it's The Room. If you've never seen The Room...
I love that movie.
Yes.
I love it.
Goodness.
Flipping awful. I don't understand all of the decisions, but
I don't get it. But yeah, it definitely plays a part.
One thing I've noticed, they've never done a good War of the Worlds movie, and the most recent one got one of the worst Rotten Tomato ratings ever. That's the one with, I think it's Ice Cube.
The Tom Cruise one is
the Tom Cruise one. The reason it annoys me is just some of the decision making that the characters make on a survivability level is just painful to watch. You'd really think that when you're being chased around by aliens, the survival instincts would kick in a little bit more. But well, I suppose it depends on the person. But considering it's Tom Cruise, you'd think he'd have a slightly better instinct to it. But yeah, they make some pretty bad decisions through that movie. But it makes good filmmaking, I suppose.
The only character they managed to take out themselves is that poor crazy guy in that in that basement, in it. Anyway, nice movie, I would say.
The BBC War of the Worlds TV series they made a few years ago was promising because they did it was like Edwardian. It was when the book was like when it was written, and I was like, oh, this is going to be good. And then they just deviated from the book in a massive way, and I was like, well, what's the point then? Why would you even? Anyway, it's not really relevant right now, but there we are. So my first real question for you both is, how did you get into music in the first place?
I always been into music in a way or another because my mom's always been singing to me, thankfully. Like, spending a lot of time in the car singing to, the hits that were on the radio, or we're talking the late 90s. All the cassettes she had, all these Italian songwriters and stuff. I'm Italian, by the way. And from then on, also my dad used to be a DJ in like, we're talking mid 80s. So a lot of his cassettes and remixes were, decorating my grandma's house. So I was too curious to let it go. I just played them all and fell in love with, especially I would say, funk, soul music, synth pop, early 80s synth pop, disco orchestras, that kind of stuff. And then slowly I found out about rock and roll culture. And well, I like any kind of music. I try to get into any kind of music, but to me, I would say rock and roll music is one of the best inventions probably in the history of humanity. I might be exaggerating, but yeah. Alex.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I remember it must have been 1996, and my dad gave me his old 1980s Walkman, like the tape player Walkman. And I had a copy of Queen Greatest Hits, and that tape followed me around everywhere. I knew the words to every single song, and from there I started just kind of squirreling away tapes and CDs and everything I could get my hands on. And I had quite a lot of babysitters kind of through the 90s because my parents were away working a lot, and the babysitters were normally kind of in their 20s, like really kind of in the moment of that kind of grunge and post-hardcore and, the height of the kind of 90s new metal rock and roll era. And so I ended up with all these burnt CDs of Nirvana, everything from Nirvana to the Sex Pistols to Papa Roach. I remember being 8 years old, and funnily enough, I had my first CD player, and I'd pretend I was a disc jockey. That was kind of where I thought I was going to go. So I'd be sat in my room on my own, talking to an imaginary audience, and essentially kind of putting tracks on from different CDs, and running imaginary little competitions and, doing the drive time commute for some imaginary rock show that didn't exist. And it all just kind of it just blew up from there. It became an obsession, as it were. Like everything that I did, you had to have this dream of, it doesn't matter what I do in my life, but rock and roll has to be a part of it in some capacity.
Fair. I mean, I did actually get to live your dream. I was a DJ when I was at uni for Nottingham Uni, URN, University Radio of Nottingham. That's what it was. I did a Saturday night rock and metal show, 9 to 11 p.m. That was good. That was great fun. It was exactly as fun and chaotic as you think it would be, to be honest. But there we go. So you guys, you have your kind of your grounding in music, and you find your way to the rockier side of life. I don't know how to say it. So how did you get from there to being in the band? How did you get to where you are at now? So
the band, the initial version of the band was born around like late 2018, and it was me, our current drummer, which ended up missing and going on his own path in life for a couple of years before coming back, I would say. But we started with him. We started putting together some riffs and some ideas. A lot of my ideas, which were very new, because at that point I haven't really ever written anything, really. Just kind of playing different bands and projects, many things, and always finding out something more about yourself until you start really putting something together. It took a long time to me, and so we started with this thing, with this outfit, putting out those ideas with Rick, and also our current bassist, which joined us very quickly. And them two already, they were on really good terms, like musically. And as you know, many times the bassist follows the drummer and vice versa. So they come in pairs, our beautiful rhythm sections, and we love him. And Ricardo basically is, I would consider him a brother. We come from the same area in Italy. So he came to live in London after a few years that I was already here. And we started jamming immediately and, trying to find a singer. We did a few things, but then COVID struck, and Ricardo decided to go back home for a few years, actually. Well, it ended up being like 3 years. In the meantime, we kept on going. I went back home as well for a while, but coming back, we kept on going. In the end, we found another drummer, and quickly we found a singer, finally. So we started, playing shows and having fun and learning, and it was a really good relationship with Shane. But after a year and a half, we in a friendly way, but we parted ways, basically. So more things happened, more temporary singers, more songs, more ideas. And yeah, slowly, we got to today with Alex and Ricardo that has come back. So the circle is as closed in a way, I would say.
Nice. How did they find you, Alex? Where did you emerge from?
Yeah, so funnily enough, I mean, I'd kind of stepped away from the music scene for about 3 or 4 years. I'd played in a whole plethora of bands, kind of over the years, like really cut my teeth in the punk scene. Back in the day, kind of playing a lot of squat shows, really kind of riding the wave of the underground kind of London movement in like 2010 to about 2013. Kind of slowly find my way into kind of like the more grungy side of the indie scene, and then eventually ended up kind of playing in a stoner rock band called Dogtown Dojo for a while. After that, and all these bands we kind of left on good terms. You know how these things go. You don't meet a musician who's serious about it who hasn't played in a whole plethora of bands over the years. So I'd had about 5 or 6 auditions with different bands in the kind of months leading up to meeting Ronin Veins, and it was never just quite right. And I'd really said to myself I wasn't going to just settle for the first opportunity that came by. I was really going to bide my time, find the right musicians that resonated with me on a level. And I'd had multiple auditions with different bands, and it hadn't felt right. And then I just by chance I went on. I think it was Find My Band. Is that the name of it?
I've heard that mentioned so many times by people.
And I just started scrolling through pages, and it wasn't even like they were page one brand new advert. This was quite a dated advert. And rather than actually responding to the advert, I kind of hunted them down on their personal accounts and just kind of went through it that way. And I think we had one audition together, and we all just kind of like looked around the room and we were like, yeah, I think we've got something pretty magical here. And it's just been, we hit the ground running, absolutely hit the ground running. So it's been a bit of a journey, but I think sometimes it goes to show, like, not just taking the first opportunity that comes by, actually kind of really understanding what you want, and finding people that are on your wavelength and dedicated to their craft was very worth it for me, at least.
Nice. So what was your first gig like together? I guess that's probably the best way to ask it, in your current form.
It was a good one. It was for it was
Underground Sound. So everyone that we speak to in the industry winces when we say that we played for Underground Sound. But you know what? Personally, the shows are as good as you make them, and we absolutely packed the place. Now, obviously, there is a certain thing to be said for it being your first show, and you still have the friends and family bargaining chip at your disposal, and I think everyone gets one free go where you manage to kind of pull in those people that probably aren't going to come to every other show for the rest of your career. But it was one hell of a kind of starting point. I think we, not just ourselves, but the other bands that were playing as well, between us, we pretty much sold out that venue. It was at the Stag's Head.
Yeah, the Stag's Head. Yeah, it was pretty incendiary, I would say. It was the vibe was pretty hot. Good. Everybody was playing their, giving their all. Good, very good. Very, very different genres at some point also, but it was quite a good mix-up. And the people were kind of mental at some point, honestly. A lot of jumping, a lot of headbanging. Alex jumped into the crowd for a little while. I think, elbowing away was good.
Is that your punk roots coming out there?
Yeah, well, I think, it's really important to me. Like, I kind of see myself in a weird kind of way. I see myself as a front man more than I see myself as a singer. And I think that there's a really important distinction in that my job in the setting of our live shows and on stage is to be a performer, more transcending kind of further than just being a musician, if that makes sense.
A vocalist.
A vocalist, exactly. And if I'm not engaging with the crowd and bringing the energy levels to 11 at all times where needed, then personally I think I'm not doing my job correctly. So I will do anything within my power to get the crowd moving to kind of the rhythm of whatever vibe that song at that moment is giving off. And I think that's a really important role. But yeah, absolutely, it comes from my punk roots. Like there's always a point where I can't help myself and I'll go diving into the mosh pit. More than once that's happened now.
Do you find it more challenging when there's less people or when there's more people?
I think we bring the hype. I mean, our most recent show out in Addleston, was it in Addleston?
Addlestone.
Yeah, Cave Fest.
Southwest.
There's a venue called The Cave. Awesome venue. Levi, the guy who manages it, is like a really good old friend of mine, and he managed to kind of get us on the bill last minute because we were looking for more shows. And, at the beginning of the set, there was probably 10 people in the room. But, if the room is empty, then I will move into the room. And I will get in people's faces and, it's theatre for me.
Conquer the room.
And then suck them into the theatre of it, and you can't go wrong.
It was pretty full by the end of it, definitely. Yeah.
I can't argue with that. That sounds all right to me. I mean, have you guys had any like nightmare experience gigs where everything's gone wrong, or has it all been quite smooth sailing so far?
Well, it's been mostly smooth sailing, but if I need to find like a scary,
I'll happily hear a scary story.
A scary happening in a way, a bad story, a nightmare experience, I would refer exactly to the last gig that we had. I mean, it's a nightmarish experience for a second, like only regarding myself. Like, as far as I'm concerned, I had like around 10 seconds of panic because at some point I was fiddling with the volume pot on my guitar, which I use quite a lot. And I know that when the electric contact in there gets, drenched in sweat, just one drop away, basically. If it gets to contaminated, it stops working like completely, and it also relates to the toggle switch. So at some point I was there, and everything just fell apart. The guys continued playing and shouting, and I was there mute, and I was like, if that happened, I am done. I need to find. Basically, my mind was already racing, trying to look at the room, look at anybody that may have the face of somebody that has a guitar somewhere that I can use for the next song, and also had to probably retune because we play one step down. So I was panicking, and I was looking around whether that was the problem or not. And very quickly I found out that I just kicked the jack out of a pedal, and that's that kind of sucks. I mean, it was a smallish stage, so that kind of thing happens. And I have to admit that I also move around a lot, like Alex does. A little less than Alex, definitely, but I do trash about. I love it. It comes so naturally. It's just part of it. And yep, you end up kicking your own gear.
Yeah, I mean, you lost a strap at the show in Soho a little while back as well, didn't you?
Yeah, that's another one, but that was more fun than tragic.
Yeah,
to me,
we always make light of it. I think we always kind of power through. Just the chaotic nature of our live show. Like we are normally pretty well prepared for technical issues, and we are pretty well drilled, and we practice playing through technical issues, just because the amount of chaos that we tend to kind of try and bring to the live show.
It does happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
It comes. So yeah, it happens that you accidentally pop your, the guitar strap screw, and you just end up playing for a little while on your knee. And Alex comes behind me, taps me on the shoulder, tries to sort it out, and has no idea how the strap lock works. And so he looks at me like it's my fault, like, oh, whatever. And goes away and comes back after 2 seconds with a chair. I don't know where you got that chair. And
we stole it out of the crowd. Yeah,
I didn't take the chair. I honorably stomped around with the guitar, up on my chest without the strap. We sorted it out later, very quickly though. Yes, we are prepared for damage.
I mean, I think in those moments it's about how you react to it, isn't it? And it's about, like, obviously you're there primarily to entertain the crowd in front of you, and how you react to that something going wrong will very much determine whether it's, it's gone wrong, it's a bit of a funny moment, or that went a bit weirdly serious, because that can happen.
Yeah. It's good fun.
Yeah, it is. It's got to be. If it's not fun, then there's no point. That's what I always think. Yeah. So, I mean, where do you guys rehearse? How do you rehearse? Do you kind of have your own space? Do you go and rent out a space? How does that work for you?
So we tend to use Arch Studios in Stamford Brook, and we've got a really, really good relationship with the guys there. Obviously, you've got bands like The Slaughtering that play out of there as well, who are all kind of brothers and sisters to us, fellow musicians. And there's a really good kind of small community spirit there. We tend to... We have kind of a couple of different modes of practice, I'd say. We have these sessions that Dan tends to lead more on, which is the refinement of and the fine-tuning of tracks. Dan very much kind of leads with that musical refinement. And
so they say.
Oh, yeah. It's like herding cats normally, but, we try and focus. And then...
refinement.
When it comes to kind of practicing our live set and practicing for shows, I tend to take a little bit more of a lead on that, I would say. Would you agree, Dan?
I would.
And when I can talk more about the live show practices, we will play the set through as if we are playing to an audience, including stage patter. So we will time the set to the minute or to the second, and I will know that I've got 34 seconds between song 3 and 4 that I need to keep the audience engaged whilst, Istvan and Dan are retuning their instruments or kind of prepping the live set musically to be ready to go for that next song. And, you've got a couple of cue cards in the back of my head that I'll go to, good evening, everyone. How is everyone? All the usual stuff. But generally trying to keep a natural flow of conversation going without it sounding too premeditated and kind of relevant to the moment.
I mean, what we bring on stage is heavily redacted. I would say heavily censored, but yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and we have in the past kind of almost practiced things going wrong. It's messing about with the lighting. It's unplugging something mid-song and just seeing how we deal with it. Whilst maintaining the flow and the energy. If the bass drops out, just keep it going, keep that train rolling into the station, kind of like full pelt. And then, yeah, definitely when it comes to refining the tracks and making sure that we're ready for new material, that's a much more methodical, slow process. We will analyze every bar and every note, and it can get pretty painful in there, but it's part of the process. And you know, we come across chaotically, but at the same time, we really try and refine what it is that we do and be the best musicians that we can be in our own way.
So, I mean, when it comes to writing, obviously you're gathering together in the studio for that kind of thing. Does like one person come with an idea and go, here's a whole song or here's a riff I've got in mind, and you go from there? How does that side of things work?
So generally, like, Dan takes the lead on writing the music. It normally starts with a guitar part. Is where most of our songs kind of come from, as it were. Obviously, I only joined the band a year ago, and at the time there was a kind of a basic, you know, good set of songs that were good to go. I did some rewriting on a couple of the lyrics, and then we started kind of moving into new material where Dan would kind of play me a song, or he would send me voice notes of kind of various riffs. I would then go away and I would write the lyrical parts to it, and it's become very much a backwards forwards conversation these days, where I think Dan does the majority of the kind of musical writing. I do the vast majority of the lyrical writing, and I would say that I've become the kind of sounding board and almost the second step of, you know, maybe we should shorten this part, maybe we need more of a hook in this chorus, you know. And then together we will go away and refine it into something that's more tangible and something that we're kind of happy to put out into the world.
And you kind of refine it further in the rehearsal studio then with the rest of the band, basically.
Yeah, everybody has their own responsibilities, their own roles, their own space. Definitely. I've been writing most of the material, but the door is open. In the very beginning, it was mostly my stuff, and I wrote many riffs and ideas and things that ended up being songs, and there's many more as well. But I mean, it has been just a matter of me putting up the band, and you know, the convenience almost of having all this material and all these kind of founding traits for the sound and the general movement of these chords and these ways of playing the chords and everything. So we have that. We've been working on it, hammering it down and making songs out of it. But definitely the door is open for everybody to put in whatever they want in the hat. And also, especially now that I would say we've been together for a while, all of us, you know, cumulatively, and like everybody's got a good grasp of the kind of sounds that we are subconsciously kind of looking for. I would say it's been subconscious for a while now. There's a few traits that I can identify a little bit, but everybody can chip in, and I love the interplay that me and Alex have now. We're developing. We
had a really interesting period recently. We started working with a producer called Stefan as well, and he kind of came on board to help us kind of start recording our first singles, studio singles. And it was quite an interesting process. There was a lot of back and forth where he essentially took the songs that Dan had written, and then I had kind of reworked with my lyrical ideas. And then it was quite interesting to see Stefan kind of almost be the third turn of the handle, and he kind of came into the rehearsal space with us, and we spent a good 2-3 weeks, session every couple of days, going again, just right back to the drawing board, kind of going bar by bar and
checking things together.
Yeah.
In a very tactful way.
Yeah.
Also.
And obviously at the end of the day, it was down to us kind of what advice we took on and what we didn't. These were still Ronin vein songs at the end of the day. But but it was really useful, I think, for us to have that outside ear and someone that's from the industry as well, who was and very on our side, and kind of really bought into the process. So it's interesting to see, you know, the 4 tracks that we worked on with him. I think developed in a really beautiful way. They were strong tracks for us before, but now they kind of stand alone as probably our strongest songs to date.
Nice. I mean, that is the sign of a good producer, who can bring something extra out of the song, but isn't insisting on their way being the only way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I mean, to be frank with you, I've been wanting, you know, looking around for people like that could put some clarity on some situation, you know, some musical situations, writing wise. I wanted somebody to help me clarify some things and, you know, identify, you know, more things into a song, and being able to discern more, you know, what do you want? What can you get here? What does this section call for? And all this kind of stuff. And then, as Alex pointed out, it was down to us in the end. So absolutely, Stefan is a treasure. Hello, Stefan.
Yeah, part of the team, all the way from Germany.
I paid my dues. He's probably gonna listen to this. I love you,
sure,
man.
He'll hand you the money later.
I love you, brother.
So, I mean, speaking of that, I'm assuming you guys tend to record in the studio then, rather than anything else. That's your primary way.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've just been through this really kind of amazing journey together, where we've just recorded 4 singles, and that was at the Hive Rooms. And that was, you know, for us as a band, it was the first time that we really got into a recording studio and had the equipment availability to really do everything that we wanted to do with no kind of chains, as it were. And we actually had the opportunity to kind of record the drums with the full mic setups, you know, with a drum tech, you know, at hand, and it was a very kind of different experience to anything that we'd kind of previously had available to us, I think. Obviously, it's been quite an expensive journey.
Time was very short. Gear was abundant and time was kind of short. But oh wow,
yeah. But the product that we've got at the end of it, you know, the songs that we've been able to kind of produce out of that time that we had, with the industry professionals kind of behind us, who understand the kit and the equipment, understand how to mix to, you know, a really high level. You know, there's something to be said about doing it yourself, and I think it's a really good skill set. But we're definitely at that stage now where we're trying to transcend to a point beyond our own capabilities when it comes to the recording side of things. You know, I think we're all very competent musicians, but I think kind of getting into the studio and, you know, stepping away from that live environment is a very different skill set, and something that we've had to kind of learn incredibly quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, it's a very different environment, isn't it?
A different game. Beautiful game.
Yeah. I haven't really got a neat way to link these questions, so I'm just going to take a bit of a handbrake turn, if that's all right. There you are, letting you know behind the scenes how it works. How is the band managed? Do you like, is there one person who's like in charge? Do you share out tasks between you? How does that kind of thing work?
Yeah. So I would say, like, once I joined the band, I very much kind of came to the forefront as my secondary duty was kind of started off being running the social media page, and I think it kind of spiraled out of control from there. Now, Dan and I, you know, talk a lot in the evenings. Like, we have a kind of a constant conversation going on, and it's very much I will tend to deal with a lot of the upfront problems and networking and getting stuff out there. Dan and I will kind of talk about it in depth in the background, and then I will kind of be the mouthpiece, as it were, for our group decision. Dan tends to deal a lot more these days with the booking of shows and speaking to promoters. I deal a lot more with the social media, the networking, trying to network with other bands, finding yourself, for example, and trying to develop our online image. As much as we hate to have to think like that, it's just an inevitable reality of the modern music industry that the easiest and quickest way for us to reach an audience and to break out from the kind of amateur to professional circuit is to get to people through their mobile phones and through the internet. And so that is something we've really been working on over the last kind of, 6 months to a year. But one of the kind of biggest endeavors that we've taken on recently. So we're running a festival. In fact, it's this Saturday, the 20th.
There we go.
So
it's finally here.
Yeah, it's taken us 3 months to organise it, along with a really lovely team of people. So shout out to Mothman and Charlie and Maya, who have kind of helped us on this journey. But we've got 18 bands playing at the Engine Rooms in East London, which has been, a real undertaking for us. But we kind of started it off as an idea because we thought, if you want to play really good shows, and we're kind of sick and tired of promoters who don't really feel like they do much promoting. It's one thing booking a venue and slapping one poster on a wall, but actually being part of a music scene that really cares and supports each other. If you don't have one, make one. And so I think this is the first steps that we're taking towards that. And we've found some beautiful musicians along the way. We've made some really good friends out of it, and we're now kind of, I think, as a collective, all kind of reaping the benefits of supporting each other in this kind of musical endeavor. So, yeah, we're in a really good place where we're starting to put our own shows on. We're essentially becoming our own promoter. We're becoming our own distributor. If you want to do it and you've got a vision, do it yourself. Until some huge, until Geffen Records comes along and offers to do everything for you. We are highly, highly driven, and we kind of want to take it to that next level. And we've kind of realized that no one else is going to do it for us. And they always say that the bands that work hardest are the ones that end up kind of going the furthest. So we're very much kind of taking that approach, and we do not have a day off. If we're not playing, we're working out social media strategies, or trying to book shows, or putting on our own festivals.
How do you find social media? Is it just a bit of a kind of drag and a necessary evil, or do you kind of take a bit of joy in it because you're doing it anyway?
Well, I'm glad Alex took the helm with this one, because it's all in there. It's your fanzine, it's your magazine, it's your music TV, it's your whatever, it's your tape to improve your technique with all the exercises. It's all the people that you can meet, and you can it's all in there. So it necessarily plays a paramount part, and you gotta be good at it. And I'm glad that Alex is very resourceful, is very skilled with these things, and it's been a great addition also in this regard. Absolutely, I needed this kind of organizational skill. It's great. Yeah,
we try. I say we try. We don't do the whole gimmicky thing. We very much we kind of represent who we are as a band. We don't try and do funny videos for the sake of being funny. Everything that we put out on social media has a reason to exist, whether it's showcasing something that's coming up, showcasing videos that we're working on, behind the scenes, or promoting events, or kind of shouting out other bands that we're working with. And I think that's the most important thing for us, is it's the networking with other musicians. And we're in a really good place now where we have a really solid group of people that we are in regular contact with and are starting to support each other. And I think, as sad as it is, it has kind of somewhat come out of social media, because you can only be in so many places at once, but you can very easily reach all of these people quite quickly through a single message or a single post or reel. And I think it's showing that mutual support for, when we're putting a show on, we try not to just showcase ourselves. We will make sure that we're, tagging our fellow musicians, shouting out people that have been involved in the process, to make sure that we're all intermingling and we're all reaping the benefit from each other's kind of social media pages. And at the end of the day, it gets people to the shows. If we look like we're fun to come and see live, and there's really good footage of us jumping around and going mad on stage, then people are going to go, look at that video and go, I want to go to that show. It's the easiest piece of advertising out there for us right now.
I mean, you use social media on your phone to finally eventually get to the real social media, which is the gig, basically.
That's a good way of looking at it. Sure. You're
trying to be positive.
people's way in, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, whilst it's annoying, it's not the music necessarily. It's people's way in. You got to use what you got to use, haven't you, to get people to that point?
Yeah. I mean, we're just trying to, to create a beautiful time with the people, and playing is social. Having people jump to your songs is social, and it's the same language.
Totally. So what would you consider, and you can have different answers, it's totally fine, what would you consider to be the biggest success of the band so far?
Well, I would say myself that our biggest success right now, it's the way that we quickly came out of this, very long period of time where we just, roamed about and wrote a lot of songs for ourselves. We were a rehearsal room band basically for a long, long time. We're talking about, cumulatively, maybe a couple of years, something, 2 years and a half, playing to each other and locking in. And now, the jumps we've been making in the last year, to me, this is the biggest success. I mean, how quickly we're getting on top of many things, and we're meeting so many people that we love working with, and we have a very good relation with, and the evolution that the music is taking. And this is the success right now. I mean, all the gigs have been great, all the people that we met being great, but yeah, the success is this one right now, I think.
Nice. I'm assuming you'd agree with that answer, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. I mean, I joined the band a year ago, and Ricky joined around the same time. And I think within about 4 rehearsals of us all, the lineup, the final and confirmed Ronin Veins lineup, we had a photo shoot ready to go. We'd taken control of our social media accounts in a kind of proactive and professional way. We started booking shows within about 3 months of that. Within, the first 6 months, we kind of confirmed ourselves for 4 singles through a studio, working alongside kind of like really professional producers. And, within the first year, we're putting on our first festival with 18 bands. And we have got a kind of hunger for it, booking ourselves as many shows as possible, and looking to the future, what we can achieve with another year under our belt if we keep the hunger alive, as it were. And one thing someone once said to me was, you got to want this more than you want to drink, water, or more than you want to breathe, And I think if, for me anyway, like that's the kind of, I think it's the kind of energy that Ronin Veins is about, is that drive. And I think it shows in our music as well. That highly passionate, highly driven. We will not take prisoners. We are here to, do what we do, in the most kind of professional and beautiful way we can, and leave it all at the door, and take the world on swinging. So we've done, pretty phenomenally. We're still, no one's heard of us. Like we're still a small band, but I think if we keep working how we're working and we keep making the music that we're making, then hell, we've got a shot to kind of break out there. We just got to believe in ourselves and keep working hard and not expect it to come down to luck or some whimsical kind of movie style.
Work is work.
Yeah.
Work is work.
We work hard. We work really hard.
That's fair. I mean, on that note, what are your goals for the next 6 months to a year or so? I'm assuming these singles, getting them out in the world, is part of the plan.
Yeah, so we have our first single releasing on the 15th of November, and that's called Rabbit Fat. So that'll be available on all kind of streaming platforms. There should be a music video coming out at the same time, so that'll be available on YouTube. And then we will be releasing each single after that kind of every month to 6 weeks. We're yet to kind of confirm the dates on those, but we're going to be putting a kind of a full advertising campaign together, which we've just recorded the footage for. Again, kind of shout out to Zach, who kind of like helped us out with that. We did.
Thanks, Zachy.
Yeah, four videos in 16 hours. Literally driving a van.
It's been a massacre.
Yeah.
It's been
driving a van around London, kind of breaking into various kind of abandoned industrial sites to kind of film this footage with everything from multiple cameras and drones. Like, but again, we did it all ourselves. Like we strive to make the most professional product we could, but we actually got out there and did it, and we do all the heavy lifting, and kind of like pull in people who are experts at what they do to kind of help us with that. But at the end of the day, we put the hours in. But for the next 6 months, obviously we've got Rustfest coming up this Saturday. I think the intention is to kind of continue doing shows under that kind of name, the Rust events, and that's a really good opportunity for us to showcase ourselves and also kind of bring other bands that we really like off the music scene in London together. So in the short term, we're probably looking at doing one of those every 3 months. Not probably to the same scale that we're doing this one, 18 bands. We're probably looking at smaller events of 4 or 5 bands in the future, with maybe a larger event further down the line. And then we're really setting our sights on kind of getting onto the festival circuit for 2026, and also the potentials of looking at doing our first tour in 2026 as well. I mean, the way that we're kind of approaching that is obviously leaving London. It's very hard for us to kind of organically just build an audience out of nowhere and expect venues to put us on, when at the end of the day, if we go to Manchester, no one's heard of us. So our kind of viewpoint on this is, again, it's networking with other bands, finding the kind of local legends in each of those music scenes that we do want to play with, and then almost doing an opener tour where we kind of travel from city to city, town to town, and basically open for those well-respected bands that we want to play with, and bring something to the table that way, and really, be real with ourselves in the reality that, we're not huge rock stars yet, and we need to earn our stripes and, fight tooth and nail for every fan that we can get along the way. And the best way to do that is to get out into the world and accept that we're going to be playing, as the opener slot for, always really good bands. But, we need to do our time essentially on the road, burning rubber, to kind of get to that point.
Yeah. I mean, you got to start somewhere. So why not there?
Dan, how many festivals have you applied for so far? I've been sending him no end of links.
I think this week around 4 or 5.
Not bad.
Gonna have to increase.
I mean, we've been looking at other stuff as well. Like playing everything from tattoo conventions to like anything that will fit the bill as getting a heavy, alternative heavy rock and roll band onto a stage. Like we're throwing our name out there, and we're trying to get to everyone we can effectively.
See what happens. No, I like it. It's good. It's what's the word? What is the word? Entrepreneurial. I'm going to use that word. It's not quite the word.
Entrepreneurial. Yes.
But it's
enterprising.
Yeah, I'd say enterprising, because at the end of the day, as much as we want to make a living out of our music, it's not a entrepreneurial thing in the sense of we're not treating this as a product to be sold in this kind of mindless, soulless fashion. If we could survive off our music, that's I think a dream for any musician. But we care more about getting the music out into the world than we do about kind of making a pretty penny out of that music, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, that definitely is. But it's the concerted and like scientific way we try and do things. We try and or manage our own duties. Organizing photo shoots and whatnot, recording things. That's the scientific part of it. That's the cold, heartless part of it sometimes. And then when we follow schedules quite well, I would say, after especially seeing what we did a couple of weeks ago with these music videos, the 6 hours that Alex was talking about earlier.
Well, 16. It ended up being 16 hours.
16, why 6? You're right. I mean, 16.
Quite a long time.
Quite a long time. And it was, it was very well organized and scheduled, and we followed, and we've been driving around with one car, one van, a motorcycle, all the gear, the drone. And it's how you build it. But absolutely, as Alex says, the propagation of this music and the music itself absolutely don't have anything regarding to the mindless grind of just accomplishing an operation. You did this thing, now here we go. You play your part. You play your hand at a casino. It's not as cold. It's just as adventurous, probably, and potentially fun. But yeah, it's music about the heart. All in all, it's about being together. It's about trying to create something cool all together, and all in all, through songs that are kind of depressing, sometimes kind of heavy, sometimes kind of angry or sweet. Sometimes it changes quite a lot, but it's all about that. Spiritual connection and the beautiful things that people can make happen, all in all.
My penultimate question for you is, what is your best piece of advice for bands nowadays? I think everyone's got some good advice in them. So,
I mean, for me, if you don't mind me starting, Dan, I would say, especially being a band that we haven't made it yet, but I would say to any other musician out there, make your own success. It's very easy to get caught up in the fantasy, I think, these days of this rock and roll lifestyle, that you could be the best musicians out there, and if you're kind of not doing anything with it, some record executive with slick back hair and sunglasses on is not going to just turn up at your recording studio or your rehearsal room and hand you a check and put you on a plane and turn you into the next Led Zeppelin. The reality is that you look at as effortless as all these big bands out there make it seem, the amount of work that most of those individuals have put in at the grassroots level is absolutely phenomenal. When you actually kind of read about what they do and how they've achieved what they've achieved as professional musicians. And it's actually very, very rare that you see musicians in that kind of professional circuit who have just kind of had the opportunity fall on their lap. So I would say anyone out there who's looking to do this as a kind of career and really kind of like dedicate themselves to music, if you want to play a show and you can't find one, make one. If you want to record and you can't find a recording studio that will book you, set something up in your room.
Don't be afraid to look for people, I would say.
Yeah. if you want an incredible live show, there's nothing stopping you from getting some fabric from your local fabric shop and making your own backdrop and buying a £20 smoke machine from Amazon Marketplace. And, you can achieve anything that you want with whatever budget. You can go skip diving and find old televisions and turn them on with loads of weird static going on and make a, really crazy music video for like 20 quid.
We have to do that.
So it's like, if you want it, go out and get it. Don't just kind of assume that it's going to get handed to you, because especially in this day and age, it's just not.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Go out there, pour your heart out, explode, work hard, and make friends. Keep working hard.
Yeah,
at least that's what we're trying to do.
I'd say don't be afraid of your own mistakes as well. And when I look at, I've played in 4 or 5 bands over the years. Dan's the same. Like, Dan's played in multiple bands, and I'm sure like all 3 of us on this podcast probably look back at musical decisions that we've made and kind of winced a little bit. But I wouldn't be the musician and the kind of front man that I am now without going through that process. And I think looking back at some of the music and some of the stuff I've done in the past, I've learned, I've really like cut my teeth and learned my lessons, on the live circuit, touring around the UK kind of with previous bands, to be in a position now where I can make a well-informed and kind of like well put together decision about how to move forward with, my role in this band.
Nice. No, I like it all. I think it's solid advice for people to think about, I think. So normally, to close out the podcast, I would ask for a song from the band to play at the end. But given you don't officially have any songs out yet at time of recording and podcast release, shall we tease a clip of the first single, which will be out
15th of November. So yeah, please feel free. This is Rabbit Fat by Ronin Veins, and this is just a kind of a little teaser as to the best bits, as it were.
Boom, guys, thanks for talking.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Phil.
I am so helpless on my own. My faith in you, my friend, is blown. Cut off the poison, watch me bleed. There is a path to plant the seed. I'm down again and I feel so. Maybe I'm better off alone. Maybe it's far too